Hello, this is Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So, social media, along with Substack, email will be provided. I'm just going to run down briefly audio platforms that I'm on Audible, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, just to name a few. And I am working to where I'm on all the podcast platforms as work in progress there. So, this episode series will be the last part of me speaking on world cultures, particularly world folk music. And I'm going to wrap up by talking about the last three countries. And this was all a survey as a jumping point and to get into the aspects and the culture and the understanding and the ideas and this of how traditions matter. And it leads to me continuing on, as I mentioned on Fridays, and as I'm transitioning in about urban legends and Americana on Fridays, talking about the different culture, where it be music, where it be food, and so forth. And also, we greatly appreciate it if you all listeners would like to send me emails when I talk about that on Fridays about your states and your cities and hold on, sweetie, and the countries and the countries within the cities within the countries of what you would like for me to cover. Because I greatly appreciate all you listeners out there. And listening, the support of listening is very inspiring. And it really matters a lot to me. So appreciation by touching on the aspects of the culture. From America, from the cities, and from abroad, the cities too. And again, the whole reason, and then it also taps in from me too on the whole reasons why I wanted to have a podcast, and particularly call the podcast The Harboring Light, to shine light and talk about things from a conservative point of view, but also be objectionable, giving different viewpoints and talking about that. And also, talking about heartfelt, warm, cozy things too, as the means of shining the light in the darkness. Because, again, the lighthouse, that's particularly from a grand scheme of things, that's what it does. It directs light, and you can see where you are in the midst of darkness, and how it signals where sailors, sea people, seamen, and all of this. It gives them direction. And something to think about. And I think also we're gonna delve into that too, about sea lore and all of this, because it's quite fascinating too. And just in general, the aspects of life on the sea is soothing and interesting at the same time. And that's part of the reason of the atmosphere of the harboring light. All right, so here we go. Let's jump into it. Let's talk about these last cultures of folk music. Okay, so these three countries, talking about their impact on the world of music, particularly with the folk traditions that they have, I think it is all very exemplar examples of how countries are more than what are the mainstream or the baseline points of what the country's history was, and then the arts and the fashion and the language, things of that nature. So this is what I'm saying. Okay, so with Greece, the legendary tales of the mythology, Greek mythology, has implemented how it's the scholarly standpoint and the contemporary aspects of the ideas of power and the ideas within that of corruption, of lust, love, greed, all of these types of aspects that are along the lines of Greek fables. And then the moral compass and the moral lessons within these the reality of the situation of what can be bestowed on to people to learn from. Now, as I mentioned, Greek mythology is of that mythology, based loosely on the ideas and the concept of the human, for the culture and the aspect of the human condition as far as the Greek society. But that's not really the realistic aspects. So, looking toward the music of Greece and looking towards in the aspects of the tradition and the folk tradition of Greece is something to give a deeper meaning into the culture of Greece. So, as I mentioned before with previous episodes about folk music has a very unique staple in that it is organic in how it relates to the importance of what a particular society wants to center themselves around, and how that stands up to the test of time to where it becomes a tradition of these nations. And then you get a better sense and a different broad depth about a country when you look towards this and you understand this from a folk point of view about their music. Okay, so moving on to Cambodia. The horrible reign and regime under the killing fields. That awful aspect of the conditions in which happened in Cambodia. And the horrible realities of communism, socialism, of just how it's a wrong way to turn, and how it just polarizes people even more to where it becomes a genocide, and people uphold this, and it's just happening with communism. And there, don't get me wrong, there are some really good aspects of socialism, but for the most part, it just, with the zealous sort of type of what you have to factor in of how people can behave, it most of the time it just doesn't work out. And as I said again with communism in a previous episode, how in having everything equal, it discriminates against the merits of work that was put in through the tenacity of merit and grit, and it just breaks down and breaks apart into destruction. And I think it's quite funny how the nouveau riche sort of people have this idea of, capitalism is just the destruction and the tear of society. Okay, well, capitalism gives more freedom, because if you work hard and you see a market for something, you can thrive. Whereas all of these things of socialism and communism really rival apart. And it's been tested and it's been proven throughout history and throughout time. So, reining back in with Cambodia, their wonderful music and their contribution of music that they had and they have on society is truly an impactful, important example of how, when you hold on to joy and when you hold on to a deeper understanding and to serenity, the kind of positive aspects that can happen. And it's just so interlaced so beautifully and so eloquently through the Cambodian music. And to end on, of music from Portugal. Now, the language is so rich and so wonderful, and the fashion and the great European style of European style of Portugal. That's on the surface, and that's one aspect of the culture of Portugal. But when you delve in deep and to the music and to the protest and the aspects, some protest music, it paints a different light and a different picture about the realities and the situations of Portugal. And then you get a different understanding. And yeah, the bird, yes, baby girl. You get a different aspect. Yeah, I know, because all the water, okay? It rained quite a bit around here where I live, so there's birds flying everywhere. It's pretty neat to see them. Yeah. Children love nature. They love animals too. Okay, and like I'm saying about Portugal, it gives you a different and a deeper level of understanding of this society. And I think that's truly something to think about and reflect on. All right, so here we go. Let's get into the music. Well, the background. Brief background of the music. So, folk music from the islands. The arc of the southern island which is composing of Crete and all of this, abounds with folk music. The dominant instrument on these islands is the lyra, which is a 3-string fiddle. It's directly related to the Turkish instrument. The center string is a drone, and the player improves on the outer 2. All right, so from the joyful environments of Athens to the sublime tranquility of the islands, Greek music is the soundtrack to an outdoor life of the streets, beach, taverns, and cafes. The folk songs of the mainland of Greece are known with their typical instruments consisting of the clarinet and accompanied with the guitar and a hybrid lute and guitar, the violin, lap drum, and maybe a tambourine as well. Many mainland tunes are dances and are divided into categories by their rhythms. So, the quintessential circle dance of Greece is also included with this. All right, so here we go. Presently, Greece is undergoing turbulent economic times, and a new generation of artists are striving to represent urban life via their music. For many of them, traditionally played folk music is no longer fully represented in their experiences, and they are finding new and inventive ways to express themselves by reinventing the old music. Pioneers of reinvented music remix traditional demoka. I will pronounce that better on Wednesday. Songs to reflect their own experiences of urban life in Greece. A previous release by acclaimed duo topped the world music charts for 5 months. And they are once again set to shake up the scene of the Greek folk world as it has never been heard before. So it's Christis and Santis, but I pronounce their names better on Wednesday. So it's a rough pronunciation of their names. So this is the powerful impact of the duo. And on Wednesday, I'll go into the styles, more into the styles and all of this too. So for right now, I'm just touching briefly on the background of Greece and Greek music, folk music, that is. So the music of Portugal, tradition, riches, fate, and revolution. Regional traditions. Social and economic changes has removed much of the role of Portugal's old traditional music cultures, but there's a surprising amount that continues in its original content and which also provides a wellspring for new Portuguese music. All right. Portugal still retains ways of making and hearing music, which survives in few other regions of Europe. Neither the Portuguese bagpipes nor the unaccompanied singers use the equal temperament scales too common within Western music today. So common, that is, within Western music today, The songs, some of which are sung in the Old language, which is derived from Low Latin, draw on the oral ballad repertoire, which was once widespread across Europe as far back as the Middle Ages. There are also links across the eastern border to some Spanish regions and the occurrence of a stick dance similar in style to English Morris dance, often accompanied by a snare drum and a bass drum. Cambodia. Cambodia's recent musical history is a bloody one. The majority of the musicians and singers were killed in the mass murders of the Khmer Rouge regime. Nonetheless, traditional classical and folk music continue to exist out of these horrendous tragedies. Popular music from the golden era of the 50s and the 60s has also managed to survive and was revived from the 90s onward in both Cambodia and its diaspora. And forgive me for the pronunciation. Okay, so music under the Khmer dynasty. Cambodia's Khmer's king ruled over much of the mainland of South Asia between 802 to 1431. Under their rule, a delicate classical dance style and court music were developed to honor the gods at the temples. This style influenced classical dance around the region, and its music remains an essential part of Cambodian life. Okay, so pre-Khmer music still exists in the countryside. For example, the form of the dances of the spirits of the Kokon. They are also called a response folk style, which involves verbal jousting between the male and the female singer. In this folk music, the chapi, or long-neck lute, player plays a central role. There are also bards wandering the countryside to sing bittersweet comic or satirical songs. So a satire songs. And this is one briefly style that I want to run through to get the impactful understanding and the main point and the main idea of reasons of why I want to talk about music from Cambodia. I think it embodies the spirit and the understanding and the cultural aspect of this nation, and that's ingrained that through despair there is some sort of hope that you can continue to hold on through in the depths of all of that, in the depths of the darkness, in the depths of the most low, deprived, horrific state of the human experience. Out of that, out of the rubble, there is still joy and dancing that can help you go on, and you can still, and the embodiment of being able to understand and hold on to joy when there is no hope is truly, it's just remarkable. So this reaches the end of the Harvard Light. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye-bye now.